Hey YouTube, it's Lauren here, My Pink Hanger. As most of you know me on any of my handles on any platform, My Pink Hanger if you're looking for me. I have a fun video today that I'm really excited about, and I put a lot of work into just thinking really through my ideas and trying to bring you some really great knowledge. I get asked a ton on Instagram, mostly by people saying that they're new to Poshmark and do I have any tips or tricks for them. So I basically put together my top 5 and I have it broken down into sections, and I'll just spend some time, in every section kind of going over the details that I think are very important. And hopefully will help you and bring you some value. So if you're new to Poshmark, new to reselling, this video is for you. If you're more seasoned, you might be able to learn something, but if you're doing this full time, this is probably going to be information that you already know. So if you're not subscribed already to my channel, please do subscribe, and let's jump into the top 5 of my tips for somebody who is new, or let's call you a newbie to Poshmark. My first tip I want to touch on and talk a little bit about sharing. Poshmark is a lot different from any other reselling platform in the sense of that it has a social media undertone to it. Poshmark has set it up like as more as a community based, and they really encourage a lot of sharing. They have 4 parties a day with different themes that you can share your item to, as well as you can just do self-shares like at any time during the day. And then they also encourage you to share other sellers' items. So sharing is a big piece of the platform, and I feel like it is a big topic and discussion. And I think when people sign up for Poshmark, they're like, why are all these people following me, sharing my things? Like, they don't understand basically what it means. And so I just wanted to touch on that because I think it can get overwhelming, but it is a really important piece to the platform, and it is a great way, and you need to share to get sales. You just do. So every time you share your item or somebody shares your item, it gets brought to the top of that brand or category. So if you have a Free People dress, it's going to get brought to the top of Free People and dresses category. And some people shop by just going into recently shared Free People. So it's just giving your item more and more exposure every time you share it, as well as if somebody else shares it. So my number 1 takeaway for sharing that I want you guys to know is that it is important, and it is more important to share your own items versus community shares, so sharing somebody else's closet. Poshmark really encourages community shares, but that's not really doing anything for you. And I mean, sometimes people are nice and they'll go back and share your closet as well, but that's not necessary. As long as you're sharing your closet, you should be fine. If you are not a full-time reseller and just starting out and only have a couple items, sharing your whole closet can take you a few moments. You can do it, while you're waiting on something, waiting for your coffee to make, waiting to watching a show, watch it through a commercial. It's super easy, and I really recommend doing it 3 to 6 times a day. 3 as a minimum. I probably that's what I share mine about, 3 to 6 times. And I used to have somebody share mine because I have I fluctuate between like 500 and 600 active listings, and for that many it's a lot. But if you're under 50, it's not really time consuming, and it's very obtainable to do it 3 to 6 times a day. So that's like my number 1 tip and my advice where the sharing comes in. The number 2 thing I wanted to talk about, and this probably should be number 1, it can't sell if it's not listed. It cannot sell if it's not listed. This is something that I need to hear over and over and over again, and I feel like everybody in the community, everybody in reselling, everybody in life can relate to. You have to put in the work. we all have piles of things in the community. We call them death piles, or money piles, or whatever you like. But you know, it's so true. It's like you have to get something on there. So focus more about just getting it listed versus making your listing perfect and having it include everything you'd like it to include, because you would really be surprised how many things sell with no measurements. And you know, with just a handful of good, clear photos. You know, somebody can get a feel for the item and it's something they already want, like they're gonna buy it and take a chance. So it can't sell if it's not listed. That should be number one, but it was my number two. So let's jump into number three. Number three, I'm gonna talk a little bit about photography, and just kind of like what I think is most important. So focus on clear, bright photos showing the full item. So especially for the cover shot, which is what everybody sees first, you want to show the full item. So not just the top of it, not just a tag, not just a sleeve, the full item, whether that's a flat lay, hanging on a hanger, on a mannequin, whatever you see fit, model it if it looks better on, you know, just crop off your head if you don't want to show your face. That's totally fine. Or try to find a stock photo, even if you know, you want to do that. Stock photos are technically against Poshmark's policy, but I will say it normally depends on the brand. I use stock photos probably 50% of the time if they're easy to find, or if it's like a harder item to show what it looks like. And I've only gotten it removed. I've only gotten a listing removed for using a stock photo one time, and it was on a Tiffany's piece of jewelry. So I think certain companies are just more particular and monitor for stock photos. So that would be kind of my advice with the stock photos. But just make sure the photos are bright and clear as possible. Pick Tap Go is a great app to brighten your item. Natural lighting is great. I obviously have a lighting kit because I need to be able to list any time of day, because again, this is my full-time job. But for somebody just starting out, find a great place in your house with natural lighting, closest to white background as possible. Everything just looks better on a white background. Go buy a poster board from the Dollar Tree for $1 if you don't have a white background, or download an app called Photo Room. That one will take your item and then make the background white. So there's a lot of technology out there to help you. And again, if you don't want to edit every photo, just edit the cover one so that it looks really good and get you in, and then who cares what the background looks like in your other ones. So that's my third tip about photography. Oh, and I will say before we move on to number 4, I think you should have a minimum of 4 to 6 photos. Poshmark says 4. I just think the more the better, and it's super easy to get like a full shot of the front, full shot of the back, maybe like a half size or details so you can really zoom in on the fabric and see it, and then the tag so that you can see the material, the size, the brand, all of that. So those would kind of be my suggestions. It's really easy and it's not difficult to at least get 4, and I mean 9 times out of 10 I actually have like 9 or 10 and have to I do the layout and then I put 2 photos in one and have to like tone it down because I always have more photos. So for most of us sellers, actually they just released 2 that they're working on adding more photos, which is great because on eBay it's 12. So the more the photos, the better, is my thought on it. The next thing I wanted to talk about is offers to likers. I get a lot of questions when I post about this. I usually call it OTL, offer to likers. It's a little button that's in the bottom of every listing, and people are gonna like your item throughout time, throughout the day when you're sharing it. People like your item and they might not make an offer. They might think like what they want to offer is too low. They don't want to offend you. There's a lot of different reasons. So my strategy and what I recommend is you need to utilize the offer to likers button. Some people will send you offers and that's great. Another piece of that is somebody sends you an offer, always counter. Don't decline, always counter. Just because you never know. And I can't tell you how many sales it's like I've gotten the person up just by consistently replying like, this is what I want, this is what I want. Like, I'm not taking less, basically. And then they come up because they really like the item. They like the item and they want it, or they wouldn't have made an offer. So that's kind of with the countering. And then with sending offers to likers. I do it on a nightly basis. I just let all the likes stack up from the day, and then I go through, you can sort through your likes really easily on the app. Just click on likes and all of them are gonna come up, and I just click on each listing and send an offer. And normally I get 2 to probably 6 sales I wake up to that morning, because I do it at night, so sometimes a lot of them trickle in the morning, and then sometimes they do get accepted that night. I'm on the West Coast, so I feel like that's why mine usually come in the morning. But it's awesome, and you just make a lot of sales that way. And if something's yours, and you've already got your wear out of it, or if something somebody gave to you, it's like, you know, and you've already done the work of listing it, just get it gone is my strategy. My fifth and final tip focuses on titles and searchable terms. So that's gonna talk a little bit, we're gonna talk a little bit about like the beefy part of the listing, I guess, if you will. You want to use the full 50 characters or as close as possible in the title. How I do mine is I start with the brand name, and then if you have the style name, that's amazing, because somebody might be looking for that specific item. You want to list like a color, if there's a pattern or a specific style, like a bell sleeve or a shift dress or those sort of things, like an evening gown, cocktail attire, cocktail dress. Like, use descriptive words. Include the size and then even the gender if it's something like, especially if it's something that's unisex. Like, I've been selling some, you know, Levi's jeans that I feel like multiple people are wearing, but I will put them as a men's, and then just kind of say like, you know, can be unisex, or like an oversized denim jacket, like a girl can wear that. I feel like clothing are getting a little bit more gender neutral, but I will include the gender, and I always include it in the listing, but try to get it in the title if you can. As far as, you know, you want to do the brand, a little, either the item name or kind of a descriptive, so cocktail dress, and then maybe like purple, you know, and then a pattern if there is a pattern. If it's solid, I would just put purple, right? Because you don't need to focus on that. And then at the very end, the size, if you can fit it. You can't always fit it, and that's fine, because your size, they can search by their size, so you don't have to do that. And then I always include at the bottom of each listing, to make my items more searchable and more likely to come up in a Google search, I do a bunch of keywords. So maybe spring, summer, like boho. If it's something that's from Anthropologie, I would put Anthropologie in there. If it's something that's from Nordstrom's, I might throw Nordstrom's, wherever, you know, wherever you can find it, because some people might, you know, go in and be searching for where the item was purchased because they don't remember the brand, if that makes sense. You do need to include the brand. The brand is super, super important. Something is not gonna sell if there's not a brand. I mean, I've sold unbranded items, but it's just a lot harder, especially if it's a good brand. You need to include that. So that is, just try to make your item searchable. Like, I'll put, if it's like a cocktail dress or like an evening gown, like, and if I feel like it would work for like a bridesmaid or mother of the bride, mother of the groom, bridal attire, like those sort of keywords that you think somebody would actually be searching. Like, I feel like a mom would go on and search for mother of the bride dresses. So you want to give your listing the most chances to come up and for somebody to find it. You know, include maybe all the colors, because Posh only lets you select 2 colors, but if it's 3 or 4, you know, put them all in the listing. I do include the material, because some people do shop by material. And yeah, so just be as descriptive as possible. Don't get overwhelmed with it. You know, maybe only do a couple, but it is something that will help you and will help your item come up. So those are my 5 tips for anybody who's new to Posh or a Posh newbie. Please leave any comments or questions below. I'm happy to answer them. You can always find me on Instagram too and DM me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. And if you're not already, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.